And as time went on, others reported seeing a ghostly woman wearing a white dress, a male spirit near the entrance, and another apparition carrying sheet music. But while previous owners apparently took these ghosts in stride, Zadora and her family couldn't handle them. So they pulled a Bryce.
In fairness, yes, I would demolish an entire home.
Yeah, they demolished the entire estate.
Hell, I'd do a whole city block. I don't care. I have needs.
Hey, all you Holly weirdos. You enjoyed having spirits with the spirits as you joined us throughout our audio walking tour of haunted Los Angeles bars. From downtown Los Angeles all the way to Hollywood. You embraced the heat but felt the chills of the haunted tales of haunted Burbank. And you joined us with our friend Mitchell Ralston as he gave us one hell of an interesting tour of haunted Disneyland. Now prepare yourself for another audio haunted tour with some true crime as we venture throughout one of the most famous neighborhoods in Los Angeles. You want a hint? The zip code is 90210. And let's just say that beyond the sports cars, the gated mansions, Rodeo Drive, and the palm trees lies a dark history that involves murder, tragedy, and even ghosts. So be sure to grab your designer shades, your fanny pack, and also pack your credit cards because we will be stopping at the Beverly Hills Hotel for a cocktail and some ghost stories as you join us for our audio walking tour of what we like to call Beverly Kills 90210. Hey guys, we're here to talk about your balls.
And I think that's a subject that everyone is interested in.
Yes, of course. Another thing I have to ask everyone out there is, I wonder if ghosts have balls?
Look, I don't really believe in ghosts. If you've listened to any of our episodes, you know that I'm pretty much a skeptic, except if I can come back as a ghost and teabag people that were mean to me in middle school, I'm a believer. So I'm sold.
Yes, we have partnered up with Manscaped to introduce to you the Lawn Mower 4.0.
And if any of you follow me on Instagram or any of our social medias, you know that your girl is hairy.
Yes.
So when they contacted us and asked if we wanted to partner, it was an instant yes for me because especially as we move into summer months, I need help.
Yes, you want to get out of hot dad bod into like hot rad bod, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you like that, huh?
I like it.
You know, there's landscaping and there's manscaping. And there's also womanscaping. So I'm trying to prepare for hot girl summer myself.
Hell yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the Lawnmower 4.0, Bryce.
Well, what I want to start with is that I have tried every option short of lasering to remove hair from my body. I am a very hairy boy, and it's very hot in Southern California. The two do not mix. So I've tried razors, I've tried electric shavers, I've tried Nair, I've tried waxing, and all of those come with nicks. They come with chemical burns. Girl, you don't want a chemical burn.
Especially in your balls.
On your balls, on your gooch. It's not cute. It's not cute.
Especially on your lady bits, ladies.
No.
Now, imagine shaving with a sleek, well-designed, and optimized trimmer that makes shaving time your favorite time in the bathroom.
I'm going to go with my second favorite time.
Ooh, what's your first?
I just got a bidet over this last year, and it is life-changing.
Oh, my God. I'm jealous now.
But this will be number 2.
Wow, you bideted, and now you get to manscape.
That's right. It's a whole journey.
What do you like about the Lawnmower 4.0, Bryce?
One of the best parts is that it's engineered so that the ceramic blades are actually contoured so that they're not cutting you. That's the main thing for me, is that a regular razor, an electric razor, any of those metal blades, they're going to nick you. And that is not a cute look. Nobody wants to see that. With a ceramic blade, it's designed with your safety in mind.
This is also upgraded with a 4000K LED spotlight. It is customized with trim additional guard lengths, with sizes 1 through 4. And did I mention it's also wireless charging?
The future.
I know. The future is in wireless. The new wireless charging system uses electric-magnetic induction, which can help battery lengths last longer. There's, electric-magnetic fields, and even when it comes to shaving, there's electric-magnetic induction.
Ugh, we're basically on Mars as it is.
I know, but that does sound sexual, doesn't it?
It does. Mm-hmm. And speaking of sexual, if you really think about it, if you've been shaving using the same trimmer on your face and your balls, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah,
that's
you're
not
doing
it.
Completely wrong.
And ultimately, you don't want to end up with pubes in your mouth unless it's like, I don't know, your Henry Cavill fanfic. And we all have it. We all have it. So no shame, but let us help you. So if you go to manscaped.com, you can get 20% off and free shipping as long as you use the code paranormal. That's manscaped.com, code paranormal.
Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped, guys. All right, guys, before we go into the episode, before we go into the banter and the tour, we got to learn a little bit about the Beverly Hills history. And please feel free to time jump to 15 minutes and 3 seconds if you want to go directly into the episode. But before we touch on our Beverly Hills tour, we must learn a little bit more about the Beverly Hills history, because we like to mix a little history and crime and ghosts. So we gathered some information based on the history of Beverly Hills from the Beverly Hills Historical Society website of beverlyhillshistoricalsociety.org. And so, according to the Beverly Hills Historical Society, it all started with Maria Rita in the years 1852. Maria survives a siege and shootout with Native Americans who attacked her rancho, and this may have influenced her to sell her land 2 years later to Henry Hancock and Benjamin Wilson. Unfortunately for the new owners, the waters dried up in the area a few years later, and followed by a long drought that left their livestock to die. Hancock and Wilson are remembered today for the upscale Hancock Park neighborhood and local geographic landmark of Mount Wilson. By 1868, the land was owned by Edward Press, who sought to establish a community for immigrant German farmers to be called Santa Maria. In the meantime, he turned the ranch into lima bean fields, selling his crop to cover taxes, and Santa Maria was never to be yet after another drought thwarted Preuss's dreams. Early in the 1880s, Henry Hamel and Charles Dunker acquired the land with the intention of creating Morocco, a subdivision with a North African theme. The U.S. economic collapse of 1888 put a quick end to that scheme. In the year 1900, the fortunes of the former rancho began to improve. A group of oil speculating investors led by Burton E. Green bought the bean field on behalf of the Amalgamated Oil Company. Green drilled a series of wells that failed to strike oil. However, they did strike a lot of water, enough to support a town. In 1906, Green and his partners reorganized as the Rodeo Land and Water Company. Inspired by Beverly Farms, Massachusetts, Green and his wife renamed the bean field Beverly Hills. In 1907, landscape architect Wilbur D. Cook was hired to design a street plan for Beverly Hills. Cook laid out curving streets with larger lots on the north side, smaller lots on the south side, and a triangular commercial district between them. All the streets were tree-lined, and land was set aside for public parks, for elementary schools, and a high school. The vision was to make the area affordable to a range of incomes, as long as the buyers weren't Black or Jewish. These shameful, restrictive covenants would eventually fall in the 1940s thanks to a lawsuit brought by Hattie McDaniel, Ethel Waters, and other notable African Americans. The first house was completed in 1907, but sales were very slow. And by 1912, to bolster the interest of potential buyers, Green completed construction of the Beverly Hills Hotel on the site where the Waters once gathered. The luxurious establishment served not only travelers, but the locals as a de facto city hall, community center, movie theater, and religious worship venue. The hotel was reached by the specially constructed Dinky Railroad, a wondrous attraction in itself. By 1914, the local population was large enough to support the incorporation of Beverly Hills as a city, but real growth didn't take off until the era's most glamorous Hollywood couple, Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks, bought a small lot on Summit Drive and dubbed their home Pickfair. Put a pin on this because we definitely touch on Pickfair in the tour. Following their fashionable lead was a host of film industry stars, directors, and producers who began the celebrity mystique that remains a constant of Beverly Hills to this day. What also brought fame to the young city was the addition in 1919 of the Los Angeles Speedway, the site of auto races second in importance only to Indy. The course, covering most of the southwest quadrant of the city, barely made it through half of the roaring 20s. Among the notable structures built on the land formerly traversed by race cars was the Beverly Wilshire Hotel in 1928. The same year, Edward L. Doheny completed Greystone Mansion, a 55-room mansion and estate, which was a wedding gift for his son, which is now owned by the city and operated as a museum, park, and event venue. Also put another pin on this location because we will definitely be stopping here towards the end of our tour because there is a story of true crime and ghosts attached to this mansion. With growth came the return of a problem that haunted the 19th century rancho, a potential shortage of water, and this even haunts us to this very day. In 1923, an effort to secure a steady water supply through annexation by the city of Los Angeles was defeated by the voters thanks to opposition led by Mary Pickford, who feared the loss of local identity. Celebrities continued to be important to civic life, most notably the nationally cherished humorist and honorary mayor of Beverly Hills, Will Rogers. In his memory, the park across Sunset Blvd from the Beverly Hills Hotel was renamed after his death.
The 1930s brought construction of the main post office and the magnificent Beverly Hills City Hall designed by architect William Gage in the Spanish Renaissance style. The old Santa Monica Park was expanded from 3 blocks to the entire length of the north side Santa Monica Boulevard, from Wilshire Boulevard to North Doheny Drive, and renamed Beverly Gardens Park. The elegant electric fountain, featuring a central pillar atop which is posed a kneeling Tongva native amidst the spray of gathering waters, was installed at the northeast corner of Wilshire and Santa Monica Boulevards. The jets of water effuse a multicolored glow at night thanks to a programmed lighting system. In the late 1940s, as the nation entered the post-World War II recovery, the city began to develop rapidly. With Rodeo Drive as its focus, the commercial district came to be called the Golden Triangle as an ever-increasing number of internationally renowned retailers opened there. By the 1960s, the city's reputation as a haven for the famous and center for grand homes, luxury shopping, and fine dining spread worldwide through films and TV shows shot or set there. The city also grew physically with the annex of a large tract of land in the hills above the east side of town, the area known as the Truesdale Estates, originally part of the Greystone Estate. Facing stiff competition for shoppers from the new nearby shopping malls, Beverly Hills moved to shore up its status as the region's premier shopping area. In 1989, Two Rodeo and its pedestrian path via Rodeo opened quickly, becoming not only a shopping and tourist magnet, but a popular photo and film backdrop. By the 1990s, the demand for services and the need for seismic retrofitting moved the city to restore and strengthen City Hall and build and expand Civic Center with a modernized main fire station and library and an entirely new police headquarters. In 1996, the Paley Center for Media opened its West Coast location, a significant new building by architect Richard Meyer at the southwest corner of North Beverly Drive and South Santa Monica Boulevard. In addition, the shopping blocks of North Rodeo Drive were enhanced with new landscaped medians and sidewalks, as well as improved street lighting. Similar sidewalk and lighting enhancements were made to the shopping streets of North Beverly Drive and North Canyon Drive.
And of course, as we approach the 21st century, the city added more attractions such as a 9/11 memorial, a striking design containing an actual steel beam recovered from the ruins of the World Trade Center, and the Wallace Annenberg Center for the Performing Arts. And now we're back.
We're back.
Guys, doesn't it sound a little different? We're in the same room together, face to face.
So nice. It's so nice and surreal all at the same time.
I know, a year and a half later.
Bryce. No. I like to think that time is a myth and that it hasn't been a year and a half, but I recently had my second quarantine birthday, and that was a very harsh reality. Like, oh no, we've been doing this and my birthday is not at the start. So my birthday is in June, Gemini. Mm-hmm. And at the time last year, I really did think we'll be out of this by June, like late June, surely. Because, March, April, May, June, like that's enough time. Like, we'll be done. And so to now have had a second June birthday in quarantine. And yes, it's starting to open up and all of that. But it was a very stark reminder of how long it has been.
It's been a century. It has felt like it. Like, hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yeah, 100%.
I know. It's like standing and looking at the man in the mirror.
Yes.
I'm looking at the man in the mirror.
It's nice. We here in LA recently lifted the mask mandate.
Yeah.
Which I have had my mask sewn onto my face,
yes.
So that will not be coming off at any time because I do not trust crowds of people.
And I do not trust my facial expressions.
No, it's the best
Sans
part.
mask.
Especially at my job. People come into my job and they're just clueless about certain things, and that's fine. I am also clueless about many things, but I do not have a poker face, so like the ability to hide my ire behind a mask is a gift. I don't think I'll be giving up anytime soon.
Good. Don't.
I won't.
Don't.
I can't. I'll get fired. It's fine. But I dipped my toes. I've gone to like an outdoor restaurant, and I went to a movie theater, and little baby steps trying to renormalize.
I know. Get back to this new normal now.
Oof.
I know. We've gone camping. We've taken trips during this pandemic, but with caution, of course. And now we are all vaccinated.
Nice.
Yeah, and we're just gonna try to pick up and continue with this new normal, like I mentioned before.
That's all we can do,
Yeah, and just try to figure a lot of things out.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna figure out how we're gonna take this little tour of haunted Beverly Hills, Bryce.
Ooh.
Don't you miss the segue?
I do miss a good segue.
No.
I don't miss being haunted, but what are you gonna do?
I know, we live in LA. What can you do, Bryce?
And Beverly Hills is for sure haunted.
Mostly
by rich people.
Street racers.
Street racers, yeah. Yes. Street racers from the valley and rich people. My two nemeses.
Yes, there you go. And tourists that drive aimlessly throughout the neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's like you have your blinker on left, but you're turning right. Yeah. Okay.
I remember when I first moved here, it had to have been one of the very first weekends that I was, had moved to LA. Mm-hmm. And we thought we were so fancy and we were going to go to Rodeo Drive because we're all such idiots. Oh, 100%. I know.
As
it's
I run into my mic.
I know. We're just these little Midwestern idiots. Like, we're going to Rodeo Drive. Like, and then luckily, one of our friends, she was quite posh. She was from a nice part of London. She's like, it's actually rodeo. So we avoided a little bit of embarrassment, but we we're just these school aged idiots in our our cargo shorts and our flip flops and we did not belong there, and it was so painfully obvious that we didn't belong there.
You're a tourist in rodeo if you are seen walking in flip-flops and cargo shorts.
And here's the thing,
it's true.
I get it. It's hard to understand. I had a cousin before I moved here that was like, don't ever go to Hollywood. Leave it in your imagination. And that is true. There are certain parts of this city that you should leave to your imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are certain parts that you should absolutely experience, like street festivals and like these little restaurants and like the culture and flavor of LA you have to experience in person.
The LA Dodgers.
Yes. Like
Los Dyers, you got to experience.
Things that you have to experience in
a Dodger
person. They're
dog.
so fun and cool, and like the city really has a lot to offer.
Absolutely.
There are other things, leave it in your imagination. And I would say I'm not wealthy, so I can't afford to shop on Rodeo Drive. And if you were in that poor canoe with me, I would leave it in your imagination because it's not for us.
No. It's just a dream.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
That is all it is.
Just walk by the fountain, reenact the Cher monologue from Clueless, and move on.
That's all you can do.
That's all I can do.
Or if you're a little older, Pretty Woman.
Oh, yes. That is iconic. That is every little gay boy's dream, is to like tell someone like, big mistake, huge. Like, that's all we want. That's all we
Tell
need.
me you went into one of those doors and said that line.
No, I never
did.
have. But that is, that's a rite of passage.
I absolutely did.
Yes.
I can't remember where. I think it was in Versace.
There's some.
I was like, big mistake, huge.
There's
and
some
they're like,
poor
is
like
everything
shop
nice?
waitress.
Okay.
Like, I'm so sorry, waitress. That's not the word. Shop owner.
All right, guys, we are going to talk about one hell of a famous neighborhood
Yes.
that resides in the zip code of 90210. I mean, this neighborhood is so famous that it had its own TV drama show in the 90s. Beverly Hills
Obsessed.
90210.
Do you want to know like a little piece of personal 90210 trivia?
Please, go ahead.
My one very close acquaintance, who shall remain nameless for the safety of everyone, their family owned the natural gas rights to Beverly Hills. And that is like, there is record and dedication of their family in the city archives because they were like original land owning, natural gas right owning members of Los Angeles. They like helped found this city.
Oh my God, I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, we'll talk about
Oh my God.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
That is so insane.
Yeah.
Oh my God, how exciting.
And like, I'm pretty sure the city of Beverly Hills did like a little feature on their family. And like, it's in the archive. Yeah, it's like a whole thing. Isn't that crazy?
Tell me this person walks around Beverly Hills like,
I will. No.
peasants.
No, we're Valley
You're
kids through
lucky.
and through. We never cross. No.
All right, guys, we're going to be going beyond the manicured lawns,
Yes.
the nicely trimmed trees that reside off of Sunset Boulevard, and the mansions, because beyond all of that is a very dark history of murder, crimes, and accidents.
Quote, unquote.
Yeah, with severe finger quotes. All right, guys. You know how we do. You remember going on a walking audio tour with us throughout downtown Los Angeles and ended up in Hollywood with our Haunted Hollywood Bar tour.
Yes.
And then we followed it up with the Burbank walking tour, touring all the haunts in Burbank. And then, of course, we ended it with the Haunted Disneyland tour with our friend Mitchell Ralston, who we love. That is like by far one of our favorite episodes because I love Disney. I know. I don't know if I can go back to Disney because it's so packed. What is the wait time?
I don't know. There's
2
just
weeks?
that one TikTok. I don't know if you saw it.
Oh, I've seen them.
And it's like, it is a throng of people outside. Because here's the thing. The mask mandate is lifted at Disney, but you still have to have a reservation. The limits of size have not been lifted. So people trying to get in are like being turned away and can't like get into Disney. I think they're like increasing the number every week. But like that first week, it was like, yeah, the mask mandate's gone. It's like, yeah, Disney's not open, free, and clear. But then like there's all these videos of people in Disney and they're like, I'm the only one wearing a mask. Like everyone's inside. Like,
all right, guys, we hope that you have your comfortable pairs of shoes on or chanclas, your fanny packs. Yes, make sure you have some water. Don't pack cash because now the restaurants take credit card. We're going to be stopping at some bars, I tell you. We're going to stop at the Beverly Hills Hotel off of Sunset, the Pink Palace. So we might stop and share a couple of ghost stories over some cocktails, and then end the tour at Boa Steakhouse, which is haunted by a slew of paparazzi.
Oh, God, I know. What a mess.
and Kylie Jenner's, lip kits.
Yes.
She's always there.
God, I know.
All right, guys. We're going to start at 2840 North Beverly Drive. And this is the House of Brando, or the fall of the House of Brando.
Oh, wow.
So back in 1990, Christian Brando, one of Marlon Brando's 9 children, was arrested May 17th of 1990. After the actor telephoned police and told them of the killing in his hilltop house, where people found Cheyenne, Brando's boyfriend, 26-year-old Dag Drolette, shot in the head.
Ugh.
Now, Christian later told police that Cheyenne had complained to him at dinner that she was being slapped around by her boyfriend and that he had accidentally shot Drolette when the gun went off during a struggle. Christian claimed it was an accident, with prosecutors unable to prove the case was premeditated. Christian pled guilty to involuntary manslaughter, but according to an article in the Los Angeles Times, according to Dag's father, Dag Drolette had been trying to extradite himself away from his love affair with, and he quotes, this is his quote, a spoiled and unstable Cheyenne Brando.
Wow.
Trying to distance himself from the unhappy Brando family when he was shot and killed in the den of Marlon Brando's Los Angeles compound. And I don't know if you know anything about Marlon Brando's children, but a lot of them are a little...
Yeah.
They're not stable.
Yeah.
And I read reports about Cheyenne and her dealing with her own mental capacities and stuff like that. There are times where she would have fits of rage, and she had those fits of rage with Dag.
Yeah.
So my question is, like, why was there a gun present? And who had the gun? Because it's not really clear who had it. Like, did Dag had it, or did Christian had it? Was there a scuffle between the gun and it went off?
Yeah. And the thing that's so crazy is, like, as we're, as a society coming to terms with, the way that we treat the mental health of celebrities has long been unacceptable. We've talked in past episodes about Marilyn Monroe and... these sirens of the golden age of film, and the way that they were treated, it's almost like props. And when they were having distress, the Judy Garland episode, then they needed help, they were just dealt drugs by their, handlers. And, this Free Britney movement that's happening now.
Oh my God, I know.
We're coming to grips, and, 1990 does not... in my head, it was 10 years ago, because I just always assumed that 10 years ago was 1990, if only. But, it wasn't that long ago. So these people, it's like, well, right, of course. Like, these children of these famous people were in the limelight from a very young age, and then they're having to deal with their mental health breakdowns in a very public manner. You're not the human brain is not equipped for that level of fame.
No, it's not. And while Marlon was alive, and the older he got, the more senile he became. And I can't remember the name of the movie, The Island of Dr. Moreau.
Oh, yeah.
He was already, showing signs, his mental breakdown, too. So he was mentally unstable, and I feel like that also, attached itself to his to his children. And he had 9.
Like you mix a gun in there, and it's like,
there's
nothing good that's going to come out of that
situation. And the way that they even labeled his home, it's not even a home, it's his compound. So it's a very interesting family.
Yeah.
And even in other reports that I've read, and this is just what I've read, like it's just an interesting setup that he had there.
Were they all living on the compound? Is that what?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was trying to break away from the family. That is what is stated. That Dag was like, this is too much, and I don't know if I want to be a part of this. And it is rumored that Cheyenne kind of knew that he wanted out, and she was doing everything possible to keep him there. I think they even had a child together.
Jeez.
Don't quote me. I think
have child's kids.
that is also what was a part of this whole situation as well. But it was a very, very interesting decade of 1990 or the 90s, and we'll definitely touch on more crimes that occurred in that area.
Woo!
Oof, yes. All right, guys, we're gonna go and get on this bus. because we're kind of in the canyons right now. We're in the hills of Beverly Hills. So we need to go all the way down. And we're going to make our way to the Pickfair estate. This is 1143 Summit Drive. And this is a little ghost story. So, Bryce, it's okay. You can hold my hand.
Goodbye, everyone.
Now, the 18-acre estate was built for the silent film actors Douglas Fairbanks and Mary Pickford in 1919. In 1988, it was bought by actress Pia Zadora and her husband, I might butcher his name, Meshulam Riklis.
We'll go with it.
We'll go with that one. Okay, guys, just do not come for us, please.
Let us know in the comments.
I know, like always.
Yeah.
In 1990, they demolished the estate due to termites, and I say that with finger quotes. But in 2012, Zadora claimed on Celebrity Ghost Stories that the real reason the estate was demolished was in fact not because of termites, but because it was haunted. Now, one night when her husband was out of town, Zadora heard a blood-curdling scream at night, and it was her young daughter who came running in and crying about a woman staring at her in the bedroom. She said, "Mom, I saw a very tall, white, ghost-ish woman standing above my bed when I woke up." Zadora claimed, "My daughter described this apparition of this woman. She had a white gown on, and she was looking at her and laughing, a.k.a. this is Tammy's sleep paralysis demon."
No,
and
thank you.
That's just what I think.
Please leave my sleep alone. Thank you.
You know, exactly. Like,
oh, God.
bitch is laughing at me because I sleep with the retainer on.
Yeah.
I clean my teeth, okay? Don't get on me for that. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Naturally, Zadora suspected it was just her child's imagination or the stress of moving homes. However, it didn't take long for her to start seeing and hearing strange things in and around the home herself, including the laughing woman.
No.
Legend has it that paranormal activity at Pickfair went all the way back to its original owners, Pickford and Fairbanks.
Wow.
So the couple also reportedly saw the spirit of a female servant multiple times. And as time went on, others reported seeing a ghostly woman wearing a white dress, a male spirit near the entrance, and another apparition carrying sheet music. But while previous owners apparently took these ghosts in stride, Zadora and her family couldn't handle them. So they pulled a Bryce.
In fairness, yes, I would demolish an entire home.
Yeah, they demolished the entire estate.
Hell, I'd do a whole city block. I don't care. I have needs. Trying to box me in. No, ma'am.
They demolished the Pickfair estate because the paranormal activity got so bad, and it left the family with the decision to level the prominent piece of Hollywood history in 1990. The only thing that they left behind and left original was the gates.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the only thing that they left to stand, up and erected in that place. They replaced the iconic building with a Venetian palazzo-styled mansion, which still stands to this day and is worth a whopping $60 million, ghosts and all.
You want to go halvesies on it?
Sure, why not?
I mean, we might as well.
I mean, it's been overdone. The Venetian palazzo.
Oh,
I know. Original.
It's interesting. Now, in a normal situation, if a ghost is, or an entity, or paranormal activity seems to be attached to a home, would demolishing it get rid of that, or would they maintain their connection to the area?
I feel like they would maintain that connection to the area.
Interesting.
Sometimes demolishing is not the way to go,
Right.
and I know that in other haunting cases, when a structure is demolished and a new one is erected, the phenomenon still continues. As we mentioned in our in the Gettysburg Ghost, how there were some structures that were used as hospitals, and either they were added a certain wing or certain things were removed. People will still see, residual phenomena happening. Like, I keep on seeing a soldier walk into my closet. Why? Well, that closet originally led to another wing. So it could be that, even though they demolished this whole estate, I'm sure whatever is there, for example, maybe the servant or the man carrying the sheet music, is still on replay.
Yeah.
Now, the woman, the laughing woman, that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
That's one that I would have to say we have to do an investigation.
Right, of course.
Yeah, to see if she's still there.
Yeah.
Does she go with the rest of the pieces, or does she stay, earthbound to that location?
Oof.
And we'll kind of go into another story that's very similar to this one with a very famous actress later on in this tour, guys.
Love it.
Yeah, it's perfect. But that is open to interpretation.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. Now we're going to head to the biggest piece of dark history right here that's attached to Beverly Hills. And that is the trifecta of tragedy, the Beverly Hills Bermuda Triangle, guys.
Ooh.
Oh, yes. We're going to skedaddle over here to North Linden and North Whittier Drive. And there is a bunch of things that have happened here since the 1940s. So first off, in 1946, a plane piloted by famous filmmaker Howard Hughes slammed into a row of houses and came to rest at 808 North Whittier, which was a few doors away from the infamous mobster Bugsy Seigel's mistress's home of Virginia Hill.
Whoa.
So we will touch on his home very shortly. On July 7th of 1946, Howard Hughes took his first prototype on its maiden flight, his XF-11, and crashed it into this neighborhood.
As you do.
As you do when you have a lot of money and planes. What do? You crash your plane. Now, according to the LA Times, actor Dennis O'Keefe, who witnessed the entire episode from his home at 802 North Linden Drive, stated that the plane appeared to have been flying at an extremely low altitude. Judging from the sound of the approaching engines, Hughes fell about 300 feet short of the golf course. However, in this treetop clipping attempt, the gigantic photographic plane, both of its powerful engines whining, tore more than half the roof from the two-story dwelling at 803 North Linden Drive, occupied by Dr. Jules Zimmerman, a dentist. Simultaneously, the plane's right wing sliced through the upstairs bedroom of the home next door to Zimmerman's at 805 North Linden Drive, narrowly missing the occupants Jerry DeCamp and his wife Elizabeth, who were in the room at the time. Caroming off the garage in the rear of the DeCamp residence, the XF-11 continued to swath off the devastation, slicing through a line of poplar trees bounding the rear of 808 Whittier Drive, the home of Lieutenant Colonel Charles A. Mayer, interpreter at the war crimes trial in Europe, and burst into flames as it crashed into Mayer's home. Poor guy.
Yeah, like...
I mean, I'm sure, he had just gotten back from his, job interpreting, the war crimes in Europe, and all he wants to do is just be in his white shirt, his boxers, light up a cigarette, and pour a glass of scotch.
Isn't that what we all want?
Uh-huh. That's all I want to do. I just take off my bra, wear some old boxers,
yes,
and pour myself a highball.
There's something particularly jarring about a plane crashing into a neighborhood. Not that a plane crashing anywhere is, more or less tragic, but just, it's so not the right place. Right? No. We kind of have this, romantic idea of, planes in the sea and, planes on deserted islands. But, a neighborhood is so creepy.
Fortunately, no one was killed.
That's crazy.
Not even Howard Hughes.
Ugh.
And he ended up surviving this crash.
Thank goodness.
People had injuries. There was a lot of damage. His hand was damaged because of the amount of checks he had to write and cut for the damages.
Jesus,
I mean, he had the money. He had the paper. You can imagine.
Still,
these are $1 million homes, right?
Oof.
But he ends up, surviving this crash. He did suffer, non-life-threatening injuries. But it's miraculous that no one was killed. That is amazing. So, in my opinion, this Bermuda Triangle is not that cursed.
Yeah.
But a year later, down the street, someone is not so lucky, and that is Bugsy Seigel. So, guys, we're going to travel over to the Bugsy Seigel Murder House.
Oh, my God.
All right, so Bugsy Seigel was murdered at 810 North Linden in 1947, literally almost a year after the crash.
That's so weird.
So if you follow us over here in front of the house, it looks pretty interesting. It's a really bougie place, but a lot of bad things happened here. So for some of you who don't know who Seigel is, Seigel goes by Benjamin Bugsy Seigel. and he was an East Coast American mobster who was a driving force behind the development of the Las Vegas Strip. And on June 20th of 1947, Benjamin Bugsy Seigel, the East Coast mobster, who had relocated to and prospered in Los Angeles and was now intent on building up Las Vegas, sat in his girlfriend's living room one evening in Beverly Hills. He was chatting with his longtime friend and associate, Alan Smiley, while reading the Los Angeles Times newspaper. Suddenly, shots exploded through the front window, and an unknown assailant wielding an M1 carbine had fired point blank at the couch. Smiley took 3 bullets through the sleeve of his jacket, which is very sus, while Seigel took many more bullets, including 2 to the head, which meant that he died instantly on the scene. Smiley ends up living through this. He ends up becoming an oil man in Houston, so it does sound a little sus that he only got 3 shots in his arm, right?
Yeah.
So the assailant disappears into the night, and the crime was never solved. But a lot of people like to suspect that it was definitely a setup.
Yeah.
Obviously. Now, here is the paranormal association.
Ooh.
Yes. So Seigel's spirit has been seen in the house, reportedly ducking for cover from bullets. But the strongest sightings are in the place that probably did him in, which was the Flamingo Hotel in Las Vegas. So I have heard stories about people who were living in this house, who had seen a man running away or trying to hide for cover in the living room. Yeah. And he's wearing a period-like suit, and they associate that with Seigel. So I think what could be happening there is a residual haunting.
Yeah.
You know, because apparently, according to these reports, it's like he's doing it over and over again. Right. And it's not 100% intelligent, unlike the activity at the Flamingo Hotel. So I know in certain reports, I could be wrong, I think it's the presidential suite where people have claimed to seen his spirit. And I'm sure people are like, well, how come he's able to haunt both places? Well, when something horrible happens, tragic happens in a location such as his home, it leaves an imprint, and that imprint is just on repeat. Oof. So that could be something that is happening at that house.
We've talked about that in other episodes. I think the haunted hotel, and people see Maryland in different places, and there's energy floating in different areas. It's like the people want to see them in certain places, like the Roosevelt or this hotel, the Flamingo, and it's like those are maybe nicer places for them to haunt than maybe like the scene of their murder, know? So it's like there's lots of different levels of unknown phenomenon.
An explanation.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's what it is. It's just the universe experiencing itself, the atmosphere experiencing itself. And I feel like the rest can be either explained with science or, doing a proper investigation. So who knows?
I wouldn't mind, residually haunting a coffee line. Just like I keep getting my coffee like over and over. Like that's not terrible.
I know. I would do the same thing at the Donut Man. And,
yeah. I love a donut.
In the marketplace over there in downtown.
Yes. Well, great. We have our death plans figured out.
We do. I thought I almost died this past weekend because I went to the marketplace in off of Hill Street.
Yeah.
And I had eaten at the Lucky Bird.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's called the Lucky Bird, and had the most phenomenal chicken sandwich.
Sandwiches, yeah.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden I whisked away to the Donut Man because my husband's like, we should try a donut. I'm like, hilarious. No, okay, yes, we should. All right, now we are going to actually give our friend a little props right here. It's our friend Maria Wessenauer from Hollywood Exhumed.
Hi.
She dug up this case a while back and posted it on her Instagram, and I had no idea about it. So we're going to travel to 817 North Whittier Street. And this is the Samuel Hayden's Beverly Hills estate. So Mrs. Kate Hayden, 71, was the wife of real estate developer Samuel Hayden and was murdered in her Beverly Hills mansion on February 9th of 1955. Police initially questioned 2 men, one a former butler who had been fired 2 weeks before the murder, but both men had alibis, however, and were released after taking a lie detector test.
Ugh.
The family's maid, Peggy King, also known as Margaret Moore, took a lie detector test as well. King's test was not as conclusive, and after questioning, she broke down and confessed to the killing. She told police she and Mrs. Hayden had been arguing about the preparation of a meal. After striking Mrs. Hayden with an axe many times, she staged the crime scene to make it look like a robbery and told police she hadn't seen anything. I'm going to just say this. You just don't fuck with the staff who prepares your food.
Class solidarity. Don't mess with working people. I
always wonder, I just want to know, like, if Mrs. Hayden, like, told the maid, like, this has no flavor.
There were times when I was working in food service that if there had been an axe near me, I would have used it. So I, obviously I don't want to assign a guilty or not guilty verdict, but I can empathize deeply with wanting to axe people in food service. So,
Or my husband, when he tells me, babe, a little more salt.
Girl,
closes the door.
Don't you reach for that salt shaker.
The music of Sarah McLachlan in the arms of an angel plays. I'm like,
you're gonna learn today.
You can learn right now.
No, thank you.
What did you say?
Yeah.
He has once, but never.
And we've never seen him since.
I know. No, my husband loves my cooking. He is trained to agree with me on that.
Right. And this axe has nothing to do with that.
Exactly. All right, guys. So now we're going to travel to the 1960s.
Yes.
So we're going to be introduced to Dan Ormsby Torrance and Jan Berry, who are known as Jan and Dean, the 1960s music duo who were the pioneers of surf rock.
Love it.
So they were very famous for songs like Surf City and even Dead Man's Curve, which is really interesting because Dead Man's Curve, I think, came out in 1964. And Jan had a bit of an incident on a Dead Man's Curve in Whittier.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. So on April 12th of 1966, Jan Berry was taking a drive. He was driving to a business that wasn't too far from the Dead Man's Curve located on Whittier Drive. And it's a curve that if you're heading west on Sunset and you pass Whittier, it's like a blind curve.
Yeah.
And there's been many accidents there,
I bet.
even to this day.
I bet.
So he was driving at very high speeds in his Corvette, and he had struck a parked vehicle at full speed. He did survive the incident. However, he did suffer head trauma, and he was in a coma for 2 months. And he had injuries that left him not quite the same. He was disabled. He had paralysis on his right arm, and the incident took place within a block of where the other two incidents occurred of Howard Hughes and even Bugsy Seigel.
Wow.
So if you look on the map that we'll put on Instagram, if you pinpoint and draw the lines of those locations of the Jan Berry accident, Howard Hughes accident, and the Bugsy Seigel murder, it's a triangle. And just to be fair, I don't think that this is part of a curse. I think it's because in Sunset Boulevard, in Beverly Hills, people drive insane.
Yeah.
When you have money and when you have fame, it's like I guess you think you're invincible or something.
There is sort of, I don't even know how to explain it, but a mystical Hollywood energy that comes from driving some of these roads. It's like you're embodying the spirit of the city in a way. And I can empathize. I also have a lead foot and drive like a little Banshee. But there's something about you're listening to Wildest Dreams by Taylor Swift, and you're on Mulholland, and you're going to go 100 miles an hour, and River Phoenix is in the front seat with you. There's something romantic about that feeling that you get. Just driving in a space like that.
Yes. And if you go down Sunset in Beverly Hills, the roads are nicely paved.
It feels like this is how Hollywood's supposed to be.
Yes. The nice, tree trimmed lined streets, I mean, yeah, there is an energy, but there is also this trend of street races that have been occurring. And I don't know if you remember that horrible accident that left that poor young girl dead in Beverly Hills. It was the girl that was caught up in that street racing. She was just coming home from work, and that kid in the Lamborghini, or his dad's Lamborghini, crashed into her.
That's so sad.
And I think 2 weeks after that accident, there were no arrests. And the father of that kid, who was a millionaire, by the way, tried to pay off the accident for being posted in certain media sites.
Jesus.
And it was caught on social media and news sites as well. It was a huge thing, but it is also something that is a common occurrence, that there's a lot of street races that do occur. There have been a lot of deaths from my research. There's been a lot of accidents and a lot of deaths. I think the most recent one was that one of that poor girl whose last name I believe is Munoz. And the family finally, is receiving some sort of justice from that happening.
Jesus.
Thanks to, platforms such as Twitter and TikTok. People were like, no, this shouldn't, be buried. This shouldn't be, something that could be brushed off with money, which is horrific.
You can't just throw money at all your problems.
And these people literally
there are
tried.
consequences. They always try, but...
Yeah, but fortunately for Jan, he survived, and he unfortunately is not the same. But if you see pictures of his Corvette, you're just like, oh my God, how did he survive that? It is completely demolished. But he was really lucky that he survived such a crash. Now, in more recent times, there was a mysterious death, and that was the mysterious death of a publicist by the name of Ronnie Sue Chasen, who was representing many big names in Hollywood. However, on November 16th of 2010, tragedy strikes again at the Bermuda Triangle in Beverly Hills. Now, Chasen was driving home from a premiere and was passing Whittier and the Sunset corner. At this corner, she was shot. And the person shooting was never identified. The most crazy thing about this is that she doesn't die from the shots. She dies from the crash that follows. So in order to escape the gunfire, she slams on the gas and she loses control of her car, and the car crashes into a streetlight. And that is what pretty much, does her in. The wreck of the car sits just across from where the other accidents and tragedies had occurred. So people were also relating that death to, the curse of the Beverly Hills Bermuda Triangle. And from what I've read, that has been the last mysterious death that has been recorded to date. So it's very, very interesting. Is it haunted? No, I don't think the Bermuda Triangle is haunted. Is it cursed? I don't think so. I think that,
It could be a lot of coincidence.
It's a lot of coincidence. I've driven past there several times. There's a lot of people that drive recklessly around there.
That part is not a coincidence.
And there's a lot of people with money around there. And
the thing that's hard, too, is if you put 3 dots anywhere on a map, it's going to make a triangle however big you want to make it, So I think it probably, in my opinion, has more to do with the topography of the city streets and the way that those curves are versus any kind of curse, hopefully. I don't want to be cursed.
I think we just want to label it as such. And, I brought this up on our Instagram with the death of the Glee star. What's her name?
Naya Rivera.
Yeah, Naya Rivera. And because she was the third person to die from this cast, people were like, oh, it's the Glee curse. I'm like, no, it's because these people before her, didn't have a good path in life.
Yeah.
And for Naya, she ended up going to a lake, a man-made lake where you are not supposed to be swimming in.
Yeah.
Where a lot of deaths had occurred there because people ignore the warning signs that they're not allowed to swim in that lake.
Ugh.
So it's very interesting how people want to label something as such because it just makes sense to them.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, our humans look for order amongst chaos. That is our ultimate, not purpose, but it's the way that our brain functions the best. Is when there's chaos, we seek to find meaning in order. And sometimes things are just coincidence. I happen to think that the Glee cast is cursed, but
no.
You know, obviously, you know, there are two sides to every, you know, was the Oz set in, like, The Wizard of Oz, was that cursed? You know, we talk about in the Marilyn Monroe episode, the last film that she was in, was that cursed? Like, who knows? Ultimately, we might never know, but yeah.
I think it's cursed by Hollywood.
Yeah,
I think Hollywood is just cursed.
By
Yeah, everything is
yeah.
just cursed. We're just going to label it as such. All right, guys, we're going to take a little bit of a long, brisk walk all the way over. We're going to get our steps in.
Oh, our steps are just climbing.
We got to get our 10,000 steps in because we're going to be drinking some cocktails, having some truffle fries very soon. So we got to get our 10,000 steps
Love
in.
it.
All right, we're going to travel to 722 North Elm Drive, and this is the Menendez brothers' house. Yes. Where the Beverly Hills brothers, Lyle and Eric Menendez, were they sexually abused sons who fought back against their parents? Or was it something more sinister? Now, the brothers were convicted of murdering their parents, Kitty and Jose Menendez, back in 1989, and it became a national sensation. But the case has definitely resurfaced with full vengeance. As of 2020, the Menendez brothers are back in the zeitgeist thanks to teens on TikTok.
Ugh, God bless teens on TikTok.
So
I had to look up the other day. I had to look up what the word chuggy meant.
Me too.
I've never felt older, and I was never cool, so like that was not ever the issue. But I have never felt older. Ugh,
I know, when you now have to look up these terms now, these new terminology.
We're so not hip.
I know.
Whatever.
It's fine. I like being a recluse in my apartment.
Yeah, me too. I'm really good at it too. So like, carry on.
Now, these TikTok users are thriving on the ability to tell a brand new story from a new perspective using old footage from their court proceedings.
I love that. What a great use of TikTok.
It is. Like, they're really gone in and said, you know,
that's awesome.
They really said something, and it's because the media, and this is just them. We're not trying to justify anything.
No. I'm really just talking about, like, what a great way to use... Yeah. You know, so often we talk about social media in, like, such disparaging terms, but, like, hell yeah.
So, according to a news report that was released... It was a televised news report on 2020. Both Eric and Lyle say they committed the murders after years of insufferable sexual abuse at the hands of their father. Meanwhile, many newspaper headlines at the time and documentary programs in the years following capitalized on the concept of two gritty rich kids killing their parents for the sake of money.
What sells a better story?
And I remember growing up and hearing, you know, and seeing those headlines, like, two rich boys from Beverly Hills kill their parents for money. You know, that's how they were painted. And then I read more reports and their testimonies, and it's very disturbing. It's extremely disturbing because they have come forward and said, look, my father has sexually abused me and my brother. There are times when he would take pictures of us naked, invite us to a friend's house so we could go skinny dipping, and that friend would take pictures of us. It's very uncomfortable to listen to those accounts. So that's why this new generation on TikTok with these fresh eyes have, you know, gone over all the old court footage and have mentioned, hey, they're victims. Right. And I'm not trying to justify, like, what they did was...
But it certainly calls into question the way that we report and sensationalize. And, you know, we just had a different sensibility even 20, 30 years ago. Like, whether or not they... were telling the truth, they were not probably getting fair representation in the media if the headline is like killed for money. Like that is a very sensationalized, right? That's not someone reporting the news with like facts. That's someone assigning a motive, assigning a morality. And again, I'm not trying to say like these innocent men, like that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the way that celebrity influences the truth of reporting. That's like a different conversation. We're seeing that again. I know I've already brought it up once, but I'm really on the train. Like we're seeing that in this Free Britney movement. The way that we treated her as a society 10, 20 years ago is so abhorrent. It's like shocking. And I remember watching all of those things, like watching this woman have a mental breakdown in her car while paparazzi like, and like,
absolutely,
it's abhorrent. And it's like we all participated in that and owe her this like recompense basically. And so again, we're not trying to say that these men did or didn't, like that's not what we're talking about, but like what a sad, horrifying story that's now, like you're saying, coming back out to light.
It's showing, you know, these stories in a very different light now, especially with this new use of social media
and our new sense of like what happens with victims. Like so many of the, you know, these sort of old ideas like crime scene shows of like, why would you tell a lie? Like, why would you do this? It's like, right, you're not factoring in like PTSD and shock and trauma response and like these things that are now like common understanding that we just like talk about casually. We did not give the people benefit of the doubt in the past. Like, oh, why would they lie? Like, well, they were probably traumatized. Like, again, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not trying to diagnose anybody. I'm not trying to assign guilt. But like the way that these things were talked about and they were just assumed to be guilty or assumed to be nefarious, like maybe we didn't do the best by people that we could have.
Absolutely.
Ugh.
I agree. And so did Mia.
Yeah,
I know. You guys
know.
heard her shaking right there. Sorry about that. Could hear it in the comments.
I know. Has anything come of this like resurgence yet? Has like any case been reopened, or they're still?
You know, to tell you the truth, I haven't followed up with it yet.
Yeah, well, it's
just
so fresh, and like who can remember anything from 2020?
I just remember, reading this article, and I remember even being on the app and seeing a lot of these users like introducing this trend now. It's really interesting, but it's also a good follow-up to see, you know, what comes about, you know.
Justice moves slow, unfortunately.
Yes, that is very true.
Yeah.
Now let's slowly move over to 730
Yeah.
North Bedford Drive. For all you Golden Age Hollywood fans, this is the rental house of Lana Turner. This is the Lana Turner Drama House. Now, on the evening of April 4th of 1958, 14-year-old Cheryl Crane stabbed 32-year-old Johnny Stoppanato, the boyfriend of her mother, actress Lana Turner, at Turner's rented home in Beverly Hills. Now, Stoppanato, an ex-Marine and affiliate of the Cohen crime family, had been in a year-long relationship with Turner, which had been very rocky and marked with physical abuse. So Crane and Turner alleged that Stoppanato was in a fit of rage one evening with Turner. Crane ends up stabbing Stoppanato in the stomach when Turner was ushering him out of her bedroom during a violent argument. Crane had heard the fighting and took a knife from the kitchen, planning to defend her mother. And after Crane turned herself into the police in the early morning hours of April 5th, she was interred in a juvenile hall.
Wow.
Now, a coroner's inquest was held on April 11th, and during which the homicide was deemed justifiable. And Crane was exonerated of any wrongdoing, so she was released in late April and placed under the guardianship of her grandmother. And here we go with the media. So public response to the case was very divisive, and numerous press outlets published articles criticizing Turner and likened her testimony during the inquest to that of a performance. Though Crane was cleared of wrongdoing, Stoppanato's wife filed a wrongful death lawsuit in June of 1958 against her, her father, Stephen, and Turner seeking $750,000 in damages. Wow. So the lawsuit was eventually settled in court by 1962. for only the sum of $20,000.
Only.
Yeah, just only. So that was a very, very heated case, too, that involved, bombshell Lana Turner and her daughter.
A minor. Like,
yes. Ugh. And I know Cheryl has grown up and even has written autobiographies about it. There's been conspiracy theories, too. Conspiracy theorists claim that it was Turner that stabbed her boyfriend. And Cheryl came into her defense and said, no, I'm going to take the blame for you, Mom.
Interesting.
So those were theories that I've read that have circulated around this particular crime.
Oof. Mm-hmm. Maybe just don't, get physically violent with women. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Again, not justifying murder.
Not justifying murder at all.
Not assigning...
violence against women is a thing.
Yeah, oh, God. But, can you imagine if a child was like, I'll take the... Oh, God, that breaks my heart.
I know.
I hope that's not true. Not because,
Who knows?
I don't believe it is or isn't, but just, I hope that she didn't have to, as a child, make that decision.
Do
That's
that,
so
right.
sad. It's sad no matter what, but, ugh.
All right, guys. So I promised you that we were going to another famous haunted house.
Love it.
Well, it was...
I'll be down the road.
The location of a former home that was another one that was demolished and built over. So this is the former home of I Love Lucy, Lucille Ball. This one resides at 1000 North Roxbury Drive. So the entertainment world was never the same after the passing of Lucille Ball in 1989. However, the I Love Lucy star reportedly visits her old house on Roxbury Drive, or the site of where her old house once stood. So another place, too, that was brought up in past episodes that we've done, especially with our special guest, Nicole, who used to work in Warner Brothers and Paramount, but Lucille also haunts the Hart Building at Paramount Studios, where the show was filmed, too. So Lucille Ball dies at Cedars-Sinai in Beverly Hills on April 26 of 1989 while recovering from a ruptured aorta. People who visit the locations of her home and the studio report a strong scent of old floral smelling perfume, just like the one she used to wear. So there were two fragrances that I researched that she used to wear. One is Old School Florida Water, and the other one is Chanel No. 5.
Ooh, a classic.
Yeah, very much a classic, but it is not floral scented. Have you ever smelled Chanel No. 5?
I have a notoriously bad sense of smell, so I don't know, maybe.
It is strong.
Is it?
I think you could probably fill your gas tank with it and drive to Vegas. I'm serious. I was gifted a small bottle a few years back, and I had to give it away because it was so strong.
Wow.
I remember putting a few drops, and I was like, whoa, I'm getting dizzy. This is really, really powerful.
A little bit'll do ya.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. I'm a Chanel Champs girl, so or
That's
Chanel
right.
Coco.
This podcast is sponsored by Chanel. That's right. They can send us all the bottles they want.
Because here we are being represented and partnered with Manscaped.
Yes.
Yes.
I love them.
Shave your balls.
I have and will continue to do so. It's summer and I'm hot.
And don't spray Chanel No. 5 after doing that. That would sting.
I forgot that second step, so that explains the stinging. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That would cause burns.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. But Florida Water, I could definitely see that playing in. Mm-hmm. And it has a very clean, light, and even almost citrusy scent to it. So I could definitely see that, being the cause of what people could be smelling in those areas. Now, it is said that Lucy has been haunting the area of her former Beverly Hills home. So sightings include reports of unexplained broken windows, loud voices coming from the attic, and furniture moving around the home when the home was still there.
Interesting.
While it could have been another ghost, there was one eyewitness who said that he saw Lucy visit the property after her passing. So her property was eventually sold and then it was demolished. I think it was in the early to mid 90s this occurred. But according to her friend, the friend of Lucille's drove past the property to see the home one last time since the home was sold and it was being torn down. walls were missing, and he could see Lucille's old bedroom. He then noticed a tall, slim, red-headed woman peering through the fence at what was left. She turned toward him, and he realized that it was Lucy. She looked upset and very confused, and then she walked around the south corner of the house and disappeared.
Wow.
I think she is not happy in the afterlife, because this is what happens too. So after her passing, she is originally buried in Forest Lawn Memorial Park, or she was cremated, and that's where her remains were placed. And that's located in Hollywood Hills. However, in 2003, her ashes were moved to Lakeview Cemetery in Jamestown, her birthplace. And she's there with her parents, her grandparents. I think even her brother is there too. And I know for a fact from what I heard in a past episode on Dearly Departed with Scott Michaels, he was like, I don't think she wanted that. Ugh. I really don't think that is something she wanted. She wanted to stay in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And I think she really is pissed off. One, that her ashes were moved. Two, that she moved back in with her family.
Yeah, girl.
Yeah. And three, like, her favorite home, her home that she loved, is no longer there. It's demolished.
That's the true ghost of Los Angeles, gentrification.
Right there. Like, nothing is forever here unless it's protected by the historical society here.
It's so few things, though.
Yeah, but like I said, like, I want to know, too, since the house has been demolished, if she's still lingering around there. There is a neighbor who I've mentioned and had on the podcast, Sherry.
Oh, yeah.
In the LAPD museum, right?
Yes.
She was telling me, and it was captured during an interview with her, that we caught an EVP of a woman responding to a question that she made. And I even approached her, like, what do you think it could be? She's like, well, it could be something you have. Or it could be my mom, because I know she's around me.
Sure.
Or it could be the woman next door. I'm like, what do you mean? I know. I was like, another haunted house here. So she was telling me, and I'm very familiar with this house. So there's this house next door to hers that does not look like all the other houses in the neighborhood. It looks new and very modern. So she knew the woman that used to live there. And the house sold after her passing to this family. And the family moves in, and they demolish the house after several months. And they built a big modern home in its place. And I guess they were complaining about certain activity that was occurring inside the house. And I think Sherry did an investigation and came to the conclusion that the woman who was the former owner there is still there.
Wow.
And is not happy with the way the family had completely flipped the home. Yeah. And it could be like that's what Lucille's going through, you know?
All that change.
It's a ton of change. That would shock me in the afterlife.
God,
I would be very pissed with my Florida water.
Yeah.
just throwing it all over the place.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we actually have two more stops before we hit Boa. So we're going to come into the Beverly Hills Hotel, guys. We're going to make our way over here to 9641 Sunset Boulevard, guys. This is better known as the Pink Palace.
Yes.
This is a very iconic hotel.
Yes.
It is an LA hideaway and is famous for playing host to Hollywood royalty over the years, from the deals made in the Polo Lounge to the romances and other hookups in the secluded bungalows. This has been Tinseltown's playground since Beverly Hills was born. Now, actor Peter Finch had a heart attack in the lobby of the hotel in 1977, and it's rumored that he still hangs around the lobby. So that is one little ghost story right there that is connected to the hotel. While it's possible that he's still there, it is believed that comedian and harpist Harpo Marx and Russian composer Sergei, I'm going to butcher his last name, Rachmaninoff, haunt there and are still making music together.
Aww.
Now, I do have
a little friend.
I know they're ghost buddies there.
Ghost buddies.
But it is very difficult to find more stories in terms of hauntings there because they're not allowed to talk about that. However, I have a friend who has done business there He's in the industry, and
Yes.
he's like, oh, I got a story for you.
Yes.
I'm like, tell me. He's like, well, it has to do with the Polo Lounge, and workers there have claimed that, like, whenever they close up, or the lounge is, you know, empty, and they're in the kitchen, or they're away from that location, they would still hear, like, the clinking and clinking of glasses.
Oh, wow.
They would hear voices coming from that lounge, and they would go in, and no one is there. So it's probably more producers and executives still, you know, trying to get that film made in the afterlife.
Oh, girl, it is a nightmare to try and get funding in the afterlife.
I know, and
they're
they're still working on it at the Beverly Hills Hotel.
amazing. That's so crazy.
It is, but every time I think about that hotel, I always think about that old 80s flick called Camp Beverly Hills.
Yes.
Yes. And how they tried to go camping, and they ended up
Iconic.
camping in one of the bungalows.
Yeah.
I was like, I would do that.
Yeah.
I would be
That's
all
the kind
about
of camping
that.
that I like.
I know that's the only camping I want to do. I tried camping in the Sequoias a week and a half ago.
Girl, I am not trying to get killed by a skinwalker. Like, no, I cannot. No, thank you. No.
We thought we were going to die
Ugh.
in the forest there, because the last night that we were there, we got stormed in. And I was
right.
like,
Oh, my God.
tonight's not going to be the night that I'm going to be whisked away
No.
in like a flood or
This
something.
is not how I go.
No, this is not how we go. I survived many
Hell
hurricanes
yeah.
in New Orleans.
Yes.
This is not how it's going to end.
No.
Not in the Sequoias.
But beautiful up there, God.
It is gorgeous. And oh my God, I got a little dizzy like the first day
Yeah.
there, because it's like you're
It's crazy,
7,000
I know.
feet above like elevation. It's
Yeah.
insane, but it's worth it. It
It's
was
so
worth
beautiful.
it.
Aw.
Oh, absolutely.
And we're glad you didn't die.
I'm glad too. I was like, it's not going to be today.
No,
Not today, Satan.
Not today, Satan.
All right, guys, we're going to make our last stop at the infamous Greystone Mansion that we've
Amazing.
covered a few episodes before.
Yes.
So this resides off of 905 Loma Vista Drive in Beverly Hills.
Oh, my God.
Yes, it's right across the street from Boa, where we're going to end our
Yes.
stop. Now, there's lots of mysteries and unsolved questions that surround this murder-suicide of secretary and his employer. Now, Ned Doheny, son of wealthy oil influencer Edward Doheny, was killed there in a what people like to call a business dealing or a lover's quarrel.
Oh.
So while the official report claims the secretary either had a nervous breakdown or killed his boss over not receiving a raise, multiple conspiracy theories have surfaced since. The homicide detective, for example, who arrived at the scene, later wrote an autobiography called Me, Detective, detailing the errors within the investigation. The case was declared solved by the district attorney's office the following day, but rumors say Ned and his secretary Hugh still roam the halls of the mansion today.
Wow.
There's also sightings of this tall, dark shadow figure. Children playing in the second level.
No, thank you.
Yeah, it's got an energy there, but we did do an episode based on the
Yes.
Greystone Mansion, and I do know, I can't remember the name of this author, but he just came out with a book called The Ghosts of Greystone Mansion.
Oh, wow.
You could find it on Amazon, or if you just Google it, it's there. And he interviewed my neighbor, who
God.
was the groundskeeper of the Greystone Mansion, who was the reason why my sister and I were able to tour in 2009
What a
when
small world.
when it was under renovation. And
Crazy.
he told us, like, there is stuff here that happens. There is activity.
Wow.
He had audio to prove it. He had his own personal experiences of seeing a see-through man who looked like a butler go down a staircase
Wow.
and disappear. So the house, or the mansion,
Right.
has a lot of stories and has a lot of interesting entities.
Damn.
Now for the fun part, guys.
Yes.
We're going to cross the street here where the Sunset Strip begins. We're going to have some truffle fries and
Yes.
some amazing cocktails
Yes.
at Boa, where it is 100% haunted by paparazzis.
It very much is.
The paparazzi, yeah.
I had a friend that used to work there, and the stories he would tell as a
No.
waiter. Oh, God, yeah. It was just a nightmare.
You want to hear one story
Yes.
that will always live in my mind rent free?
Mm-hmm.
My friend and I went there just to have drinks and appetizers because that's all we could afford.
Yes.
And I was just ready to pay the bill after we just pigged out on truffle fries.
Gotta.
And mid truffle fry, I look up and there's David Beckham coming in with Ava Longoria. And I thought that this was it. Like, this was my entrance to heaven.
Yeah.
I almost choked on the fry. I was
then he has to give you the Heimlich. It's a whole plan.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, I used to be a celebrity stylist, but when I saw them, I was just like completely starstruck.
Wow.
And I'm usually not that starstruck, but when I saw David, I was just like, man, that man is beautiful. In person, he is fine. Not fine, fine.
And let me just stop you now before anyone goes in the comments and talks about how his voice, I always get so angry at my one roommate. She's always like, his voice doesn't match his body. I'm like, I will end your life. How dare you talk about sweet David Beckham like this?
No, okay, I'm going to say this. He's actually shorter in person.
They always are.
Yeah, because Ava Longoria is she's petite.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just like, I want to say just a couple of inches taller than her. And I don't know what I did. I was like, I'm going to walk to the bar where they're sitting and I'm just going to ask the bartender for something.
Yeah.
And
anything.
And I purposely brushed up against him and he turned around. I was like, I'm so sorry. He's like, I was okay. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh my God, it's happening. It's all
Talk
happening.
to me some more. Just say anything. Say napkin, say straw. Yes. I would melt in your hands right now.
Yes.
David.
Hey.
I know. I like your pants. They look well fitted.
Oh, they really do.
And they were both really nice. Like, you could tell, like there's some celebrities that you could just tell, like, just their aura and just how they are. They're just have a false sense of entitlement. But him and Ava, they were just like, from what I was told, like, they were really good friends and they were just like really cool. They were just
nice.
They're having a good time.
I like that.
I got my glass of water that I never drank from the bar, and I
absolutely
couldn't brush up against David again. But
well, you've done it once. That's all we can ask for.
He smelled really nice.
I bet.
He really did.
Chanel No. 5.
I know. Me and my fucking Florida
Yeah, right.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to our episode, our audio walking tour of Beverly Hills.
Yes.
And if you ever are in and around the Beverly Hills area and you find one of the houses that we talked about, take a picture, tag us in it.
If you're ever in and around David Beckham, tag us in it.
I know. Man, that man's beautiful. Is my husband around?
He's fine. It's fine.
He's fine.
It's all for the podcast. We can't help it.
All right. Mia is also excited that we're ending this episode because we get to give her full attention.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to be stalking us on all of our social media, guys. Be sure to stalk us on Twitter at HWP Podcast, on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Hollywood Paranormal. If you have a scary ghost story, please forward that to us at our email at hollyweirdparanormal@gmail.com for our listeners' tales.
Yes.
If you want to learn more about the podcast, head on over to hollyweirdparanormal.com. You can learn a little bit more about myself and Bryce. You could browse our merch store. You can actually go through our Patreon page. We have a Patreon page. You can also head on over to www.patreon.com/Hollyweird Paranormal.
We're everywhere.
We are. You could be a part of our Patreon group. You could be automatically inducted into our Saturday Night Ghost Club.
Yes.
And this is a secret podcast society where we collect ghost stories from our friends, our neighbors, and we post them onto this little secret podcast. Yeah. You'll also be gifted in coasters, in stickers, in magnets, and so much more. Yeah. And you'll definitely get a shout out for sure. We have a couple people that we want to give a big shout out who are our new Hollyweird Patreon members. So I know. Thank you guys so much. So we have, first off, a big thank you to Jeff Daigle. Thank you so much, Jeff, for joining. And for, oh my God, for this one user, didn't use your real name, Knees Lincoln.
Hilarious.
Lincolns. I get it. I understand. And we just want to say thank you guys so much for joining and being a part of our Hollyweird crew.
Yes.
And we're so happy that you got your goodies in the mail, of course. Bryce, do you have anything else you want to say?
Bye.
Bye, guys. Take care of yourself. Stay healthy. Stay safe. But most of all, stay Hollyweird. And take care. Bye, friends.
Bye.